Hey everybody, Texas Stroke Airlines, this performance shop, LoneStarMopars.com. It is Saturday night, it is hot in the shop. That hum that you may hear in the background is a fan. Sorry, not sorry, and you're now probably wondering what in the world is going on here. Well, this is a long overdue channel update. Before we move on, I'm going to try to get through this as quick as I can, but I will tell you, as with all my videos, there's timestamps down below. If you just want to skim this and see what we're going to be talking about, what we're covering, if you want to zone in on a particular area of interest to you, skip ahead, skip around, feel free to do whatever. But the most important thing is right now at the beginning, and this is for your benefit. I know about it, it's nothing to me, but I want you to know about this and be able to take advantage of it. And it has to do with this set right here. Now, what that is, you might recall seeing that in the video previously released. That is brand new from Wiha. It is their rainbow colored hex key set, right? Sort of akin to Vera's Take It Easy set, you know, with the plastic sleeves. The catch is, when I brought that in, it was brand new. It is still new, and it is also now on the big deal. The problem is, this is a really big deal. There's 8 different items on it. Typically, there's 2, maybe 4. There's 8, and they're all pretty intriguing. I think there's a little something for everybody. But needless to say, you're going to save quite a bit of money with Wiha's Big Deal. You can go direct through Wiha Tools or KC Tool, whichever's closer or has it in stock. You can also price it out, whatever works best for you. What I'm going to do real quick for you is showcase everything on this current Big Deal. This one runs for the months of July and August, so by the time Labor Day rolls around, it's gone. There's a tendency with big deals to sell out, so keep that in mind. Now, what we want to do is just drop right into the action for you. You may not see that perfectly, but just roll with me here. So this is what we have on the bench. It's $39.99. Typically a $60 set. Right beside it is the 9-piece metric set. It's $25. You'd typically be paying close to $40. Again, add these savings up between these sets and you can wind up with other tools like a pair of these pliers or another Big Deal item or something you've been wanting for a while. So after that, we've got the ErgoStars. Now that may look familiar to you because of the holders that I brought in when we bought that set, and I've gotten really good feedback when we made that video. A lot of you went out and apparently took my advice, picked those up, and have transformed your mundane hex key sets into easy opens, which I'll showcase that here in just a second. But I don't really need any more hex keys. Do I want them? Yes. Will we wind up with them? Possibly. The cool thing about the ErgoStars, one, you know, they've got the bright finish instead of black, but the biggest deal is they've got a holding function. Currently, no hex keys I own have a holding function, so that is pretty tempting, particularly when you consider that's SAE and metric. It would typically retail for $100, and you're getting it for $60. That's $40, and that's a big chunk of change. So if you were ever going to pull the trigger, now's a great time, as I talk myself into buying something that I don't really have to have. So up next, kind of old school, it's the T-handled Torx grip set. This is going to be, I think it was 5 through 30. Don't hold me to that, the sizes aren't there, but again, that's $95. You can get it for $60. Coming up next with Wiha, anytime you see red, it's typically metric. Yellow will typically be SAE. There is some variance there, but that's the default setup. This set here, 8-piece metrics T-handles, right? Dual drive at that. That means that we've got the long ball end and we've got the short stubby end for leverage, right? $55, you typically pay $91, and then for the 8-piece SAE, it's a little bit cheaper, $86, and you can get it also for $54.99. The stands with those are pretty cool. You'll probably remember I brought in a stand. Quick little side note on these. So many German tool companies make really good looking dual drive metric, you know, hex keys, L keys, whatever you want to call them. They'll also typically do that with Torx stuff. They don't do it with SAE. Wiha does, so there's a very good chance that you might be seeing that, and for all you know, it's already been recorded. But the metric side, if you recall in some previous KC tool hauls, I was bringing in T-handles, and I was actually trying to get a feel for everyone's handles before I committed to a set of metric ones. And fact of the matter is, we might make a sleazy set, a little bit of everything there, but spoiler alert, you might be seeing something about that pretty soon. Now, coming up next, this is a big deal. Again, it's all a big deal, but you know what I'm saying, right? For a lot of you. This is Wiha's 8-piece Torx grip set, T6 to T30. Again, this will be their classic soft finish, which is an amazing handle. Highly comes recommended. They're sized appropriately. Again, you wouldn't want like the huge bulb end that you have on, say, a T40 for your T6. So it's sized accordingly, kind of in line with what you've seen from other Wiha sets. And right there is the big brother to this one, a 12-piece set. You go from T6 to T30 to T5 to T40 for that one. Price point $40, you're saving 20 there. And with this one, it's usually around 90. You're getting it for 55. So that's a $35 savings on that front. Those are the 8 items, and again, I do believe there's a little something for everyone, regardless of your taste with that set. Only way it could have been better is if they threw in a plier of some kind and maybe a screwdriver. The Go Box impact set, I would say, should be there, but it just was the big deal this previous time around, so take it with a grain of salt. So, we've kind of covered that, and I real quick want to do this. So, long ago, I brought this in, okay, just their standard SAE and metric. Again, that's what the yellow dot would indicate. This would be the metric counterpart. When we brought those in, I picked up the ErgoStar spare holders, and I said, I've got an idea I want to try with this. Spoiler alert, since so many people have already done it, it works really good. This is something I think kind of flew under the radar till I made that video. And now, like I said, I've had a crud ton of you like send me pictures or quick little videos, and you're like, hey, it fit. And that's what I had planned. That's what it did. I still will probably make a standalone on that, just so more people, you know, if you were curious about it, you'll kind of have like a follow-up type of a deal, I guess. But that turned out to work out beautifully, and I could not be happier with it. So, moving on, let's see. We're just going to jump right into this. Block of wood with a screw in it. What is that doing there? Well, it's a question. As you know, we have a ton of screwdrivers, and we brought them in to test them. That's why so many of the screwdrivers I don't get to use, like the number 2 Phillips. I try to keep them intact. And then if I can't help myself and I do use them, then I'm like, oh, I can't really test it, and I'll wind up buying another one. Typically don't show it, you know. And that's why in one of those Wiha tool hauls recently, I brought in like the micro finish handles. I was like, I just need like dedicated drivers to get me through until we've tested this stuff, and then I can use everything. And what I'm wanting to do, I want them to be virgin screwdrivers. I want them to be as delivered from the factory. If they suck, they're going to suck. If they're amazing, they're going to be amazing. It's not a deal where like, well, these were better 5 years ago. Trust me. I don't want any of that bias. I just want it to be what it is. Now, the issue I have and what I'm asking your input on, how would you test that? Right? So if we come in and we've got like these brand new fancy PB Swiss drivers, okay, what do we do? Like, do I duty cycle? Do I turn 100 screws and we compare the tips under a microscope, which would be really hard for me to film? Or I have tried this stuff in the past, by the way. Do we just come in and we turn down one screw? Do I drive it all the way through and then back it out with, you know, the manual driver, and then we take a look for, you know, signs of wear, and then how does it perform? Let me know, because again, this is something I really want to do, and I want to do it well. Obviously, we have one shot. I don't really have the money to reacquire all of these screwdrivers, so I want to get it right the first time. We might go brand versus brand at the beginning, and then do kind of like the best for Wiha versus the best of PB Swiss, you know, type of thing, or maybe Germany, and then, you know, all of Europe versus America, whatever. There's all kinds of different ways we can spin it. See what I did there? Screw humor, yeah. But I'm kind of like, I want it to be something that's consistent, repeatable. I want it to be a deal where if you're like, oh, there's no way that piece of trash screwdriver is better than this one, I want you to be able to go out, buy the same 2 drivers, get the same screw, you know, get the same rough cut of wood, drive it in, whatever, and repeat the results. You know, that's the goal here. I want to say this is the best. I can come in and tell you aesthetics, they're 100% subjective. I'll still apply that. The feel of the handle, while what's perfect in my hand, you might hate that. And we need to be clear that that's all subjective. What's not subjective is the way that the tip holds the screw, turns the screw, and wears after turning the screw. So if you've got ideas, by all means throw it at me. It would much be appreciated. And again, I want this to be something that you want to watch and you will enjoy watching as well. Obviously, if you're still with me, I assume you're looking forward to that, or you're of the mindset like myself and it's something that you'd kind of get into. So Any thoughts, any ideas, please feel free. Let me know what you would do, what you would like to see, and we'll try to make it happen. Now, moving on, this right here, PTFE, true story. I have never dealt with PTFE. It's going to be a new experience for me. Pretty excited. If you know of anything that cuts this really well, let me know. In the past, I've used my Channel Lock 911s, again, not intended for cutting this stuff, but they work really well. Most of the time, people use like a really big cable cutter. That, to me, just seems overkill. It seems like something more compact should do it. With AN hoses, I've not had much trouble. I'm assuming the plastic tube wouldn't give much more resistance than the braided portion, right? But what I was wanting to try, and the problem is this would be like an $80 tool, and if it doesn't work, you know, one, I've probably torn it up by the time I can see that it doesn't work, and two, that's a lot of money to be out for something that I wouldn't really use past that. They make kind of like the, they're not all ratcheting, some of them are, but it's essentially like a closed-in channel, right, where you could slide your hose or material in, and then there's a fixed blade right here that is replaceable, right, just a standard razor blade looking thing. And so you come in with the handles, and that just simply closes down. As it does so, it severs the hose, right? I've shot some emails off. People don't apparently deal with PTFE hose much because no one really knows, and it's kind of one of those deals where I would have to guinea pig it, and $80 to me is still a good chunk of change, again, especially if I can't make use of the tool later. So that is going to be interesting, but again, I'm pretty stoked. Again, I like doing new things, trying something I haven't done before, learning about stuff. So PTFE, pretty excited to give it a go. If you have experience there with something, again, compact, I know what will cut it that's huge and cumbersome. I'm looking for something compact that people have first-hand experience with. Moving on past that, we are to automotive content time, right? Should have mentioned this at the start of the video, I guess. Every Wednesday, if you did not know, that's right, I know this is probably coming out on a Saturday, or not, I don't know. There's a really cool Casey tool haul coming up. We're going to have to do out of order, but regardless, when you see this channel update, it's mainly so you could buy this before it goes away. But Saturdays are tool days, right? That's when I release the tool stuff, whether it's Casey tool, Capri, Tecton, you know, whatever. That's the system we're going to stick with. It's working well, not going to change it. On Wednesdays, though, I have been uploading a series called the Ram Revival. In a nutshell, that is where I'm taking my 2001 Dodge Ram 4x4 off-road. Long story short, water plugs, or freeze plugs, I should say, core expansion plugs, whatever you want to call it. People get real ticky with that stuff. But they failed. They rotted out. And so I had to pull the motor. One thing leads to another. I'm documenting that entire process. I think eventually, for the right people, when they find it with YouTube's algorithm, it will prove to be very helpful. It's something where if you wanted to do this, I feel like you could use the video and get yourself through it. I'm also just taking the time to kind of document things as mundane as the hose routing. You know, where the spark plugs ran, you know, locations, you know, tips and tricks, all that stuff. If you have zero interest in like pulling a motor, throwing something back in, running into issues, all that stuff, where you might have an interest is seeing the tool. So many times, like with this, I said, you know, I'm buying this to do a chain basketball net at my sister's. You know, I'm interested in that razor blade cutter to cut PTFE hose. When I bring stuff in, I typically tell you what I want to do with it and why. Case in point, that Hayco 3236 that probably made no sense to people as to why I would buy it when I'm an SAE person. I said I'm going to use it to take the clutch fan off the truck. That thing worked beautifully. It's an awesome wrench, and it was about a third of the price of the cheapest of the cheap clutch fan removal tools that are all made in China and are complete garbage, right? So we did awesome there. Sometimes what I buy works perfectly as I envisioned in my head like that. Sometimes it's a cluster. I mean, it ain't happening. And we basically threw the money away, and we have to try to come up with something else to do with the tool. So that's something you could get enjoyment in. But every Wednesday, we're releasing the content on the Ram Revival. There's about 12, 13 parts to get the motor out. I can tell you right now, I've got the motor back in the shop. I'm not going to tell you what it is, and I will also tell you last Saturday, I was down at the machine shop. We had the dyno day, and not going to release the numbers just yet, but I will tell you it is pretty sweet. So anyone into good old Americana V8 or second-gen Rams or forgotten the Magnum, I'm going to tell you, it's one of those forgotten motors. People just don't touch them anymore. And, you know, if you're into that sort of a thing, something a little different, I think you'll enjoy it. So between the removal, we'll probably highlight some of the cool aftermarket parts I picked up for the truck. After that, it's going to be the reinstallation. That brings us to another thing. and a change of scene. So I've got like 5 minutes here on this card, so we got to make this quick. But here we are in the engine bay of the truck. If you haven't been following the Ram Revival, this is what you've missed, right? There's no motor anymore. There's one behind me, but again, can't talk about that. So this is the issue. When I picked the motor up, all right, this is me seeking feedback, particularly if anyone that deals with second-gen Rams, particularly in this case, four-wheel drives that are lifted. My Hoist, Harbor Freight, just like many of you, right? And all the other brands are basically the same thing, just with different paint. Don't think it's not what it is, right? It's all from the same factory. So when you lift, you want to be upright. You know, like if I wanted to pick this hose up, I want to attach right here. You know, if this is a heavy item, we're going to pick up there and go straight up. When I pulled the motor, I had like an angle like this. Not like this, but like this. And I'm pretty sure I kind of warped the legs on the stand, having to bounce on it to get the spool mounts out of the frame. I mean, I'm telling you, this is a chore. I can't get the hood off by myself. It's just too big. I could possibly use the engine stand to do that with an attachment, but that's another story for another day. So if you have any idea how to get this back in, again, I did wind up pulling the core support, but the problem is I've also got a grill guard. And, here's a crazy question. I was considering buying a gantry crane, then I saw the freight on said gantry cranes. Northern Tool was my choice. The freight to get them there was absurd. Harbor Freight, I don't know if that's in store and I can just drive away with it if I had a truck, which I currently don't, or if they ship it to you because they don't let you buy it online. It has to be in store only. That brings us up here. All right, now that's the hood. I had to take the grill off and the core support. If you come back here, I've got these beams, okay? I would think this would work. I think I could run a chain hoist across there and avoid having to purchase or build my own gantry crane. Has anyone done anything? This is going to be a small block. It's not like we did a 440 swap or something. This is going to still be a daily fuel injected motor. Do you think, this is fully welded, it's like every 2-3 feet, there's reinforcements, right? Will a chain hoist from that support a fully dressed small block Magnum engine? Let me know your thoughts, all right? So, moving from that point back into here, do you want to see automotive content? Again, I'm currently releasing it on Wednesdays. And the truck, I'm going to tell you right now, I've already invested way too much of my time in it. It will continue. We're going to see this thing to fruition. If no more than 100 people want to watch it, that's fine. Maybe someday it'll take off, but I've just put way too much time into it as opposed to just scrapping it. Now, here's a taste of some other automotive content we could see. All right, so prior to the thumb injury, I was kind of getting the ball rolling. I had a lot of big plans for, 2019 summer. Bandsaw apparently disagreed with me, but we're here in the trunk of the Charger. I was going to start rewiring it. Yes, this is where I elected to start the process, was in the trunk, Sue me. That's what I decided to do. I've got the liberty to go against the grain with the instructions. Is this anything you would be interested in? Like, does coming in, this is American Auto Wire kit, by the way. Is this anything you would want to see? I realize, like if you're coming in, you've got like a narrow sect of people that would be into 68 to 70 Chrysler B-bodies, particularly that would also be on YouTube wanting to watch said content, right? So, most of them are older guys, and maybe if I send pictures, that would be cool. But since most of you probably aren't into these old cars, right, or you're into something else, is it something that piques your interest enough that you would watch it? Or is it a deal where you're like, I'm not into old Mopars, but, I'm thinking of rewiring my insert project here, and that might be helpful. Or, I was curious about the AAW kit. How does it stack up? What's all included? What's going on? Or, that would be really cool to see what you do with these tools you buy, and all these parts you showcase. Like, definitely show us that. That's kind of what I need to know, because for me, I may record some of this and upload it for myself, because I enjoy it, but at the same time, if I have to sit here and record this, if I have to set the camera up, get a light in so you can see it good and explain what I'm doing, that takes extra time that I could have instead of just showcasing connection 1, I could rewire 70% of this trunk, the rear body, as opposed to getting a fraction of the work done because I'm filming it. If that makes any sense, it just takes extra time, right? So what I want to know from you is if you have an interest in seeing wiring. Does that interest you? I might, body panel replacement, floor pans, anything like that. Does that pique your interest? Now we're going to do another change of scenery. And here, with the Duster where I left off, I was going to just convert it to fuel injection. Is that something you want to see? If you're not into Dusters, if you're not into Holley Terminator Stealth, is it just, again, is it something you're like, yeah, that'd be cool to see? You know, I don't know much about that, show it to me. Or is it like, oh my gosh, you've got to film that, I can't wait to see it? Let me know. Because again, my time is limited. And, you know, if nobody's going to watch it or enjoy it or has an interest in it, I can save a ton of it and get the car on the road quicker by not filming it. But at the same time, if people want to see it, cool, let's make it happen. On that note, it is freaking hot in here. We are also down to like 20 seconds. So timestamps down below. Please let me know your thoughts on all this. LoneStarMopars.com is the website. And follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, all three at Lone Star Mopars. Just a little teaser for those of you that hung around at the back. We got 4 motors in here right now. There's 1. There's 2. We're gonna have time for this? Oh, I don't think we are. What if